So back on I Don't Make the Rules. Fire episode on the way. Reason why, because first coach ever to come on the show, Coach Monty of UDM. If you don't know what UDM is, that's University of Detroit Mercy. You guys know I'm a Titan at heart. Welcome, Coach.
Glad to be on the show. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So a lot of people are excited. I told a lot of people that I was getting you out here. A lot of people know a lot about you, but they don't know a lot about you. So I'm going to go not way back, because you're actually pretty young for a coach in today's day, right?
I don't know about that, but we can go back as far as you want to go back.
All right, so you started at Inkster?
Yeah, I grew up in Inkster, but I went to Southgate Aquinas High School in the Catholic League. So I'm always rep the Catholic League.
Okay, is that still a school or no?
Unfortunately, it's closed.
All right. So, come on, we got to talk about what you did there. You had to be doing something to get to Michigan State.
Well, I mean, the Catholic League back in the day, now remember, I went to school, I graduated in 1988.
Okay.
So the Catholic League, to me, was a powerhouse, that and the PSL. So at the time I was coming out, some other familiar names in our graduating class was Matt Stiginga, he a Spartan, Mike Peplowski, D. LaSalle, Tony Tolbert at the time.
Tony Tolbert, I know
DePores,
Tony Tolbert.
Parrish Hickman at the time was Bishop Borges. So even before that, when you had B.J. Armstrong at Iowa and Jokic at Brother Rice and different guys from Detroit Catholic Central. So the Catholic League was a big deal back then.
Okay. And you pretty much dominated it in your
Well,
own.
I don't say I dominated. I think I was a pretty good player, and I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Michigan State.
Okay. And that's where you fourth all time in assists. We talked about that before the show. You was like, but you got to talk about it. Being able to get that many assists means something.
That means I played with good players. I mean, I played with Steve Smith, and he was in the NBA 18 years.
Right.
So, and then I played with Sean Ruspert. He's another first-round draft pick for the Bucks, went to Detroit Bishop Borges. So pretty good player. So when you play with good players and you just get them the ball or find the ball, I mean, they're going to score the baskets.
They make your job pretty easy.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. Okay. So for the people that watch the show, y'all know I'm not really too much of a Spartan dog, even though I'm from Michigan and I rep Detroit and I'm from Detroit and all that good shit. But with you being a Spartan guy, I'm going to respect the Spartans. We were talking about how I love the Georgia Bulldogs, stuff like that. What does it mean to, like, be a Spartan, like, in general? You know, because you not only were a player, you went back and coached after averaging 25 overseas in Europe. Where'd you play in Europe?
I was in Germany for 2 years, 1 year in Lithuania and 1 year in Sweden. Mm-hmm. But to be a Spartan, true, we're more blue collar.
Okay.
You know, hard nose, guys that don't mind grinding, don't mind going through the process. We're not wine and cheese. We're more beer and nuts.
Right.
You know, the school in Ann Arbor is a little different from the school in East Lansing. I'm just going to be honest. I visited both schools. I fit in better with the grinders to, you know, keep your mouth closed and get things done, and then results will follow.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if I had to choose between the two, respectfully, I feel like I would be a Michigan guy. I kind of like the Michigan vibe, just because it's a little closer to home in general. But I do like the guys that come out of Michigan State, like Draymond Green, things like that. Keith Applin was a good guy that we watched when I was a kid. Kalen Lucas. Y'all done had some people. Brandon Dawson, another one. So yeah,
I mean, both schools have a history. I always say that you know, Michigan is a good school, and I know that's our rival, and they've had a lot of good players. My freshman year, they won the national championship with the whole Glenn Rice and Terry Mills and Gary Grant and Antoine Jobert went there. So it's a lot of good players that went to Michigan. And it's a lot of good players
Coach
in Michigan.
Jobert, obviously, right?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Legend at Detroit Southwestern. But a lot of good players at the same wise came out of Michigan State. I'm more of a Michigan State. I say within this state, you have to choose alliances. Some people pick Michigan just because of their colors. You know, and then I always say it's more Michigan fans because football was so successful. But then as you're watching basketball, and we were talking about it, we were joking before we went on air here that Tom Izzo, 28 straight years in the NCAA tournament, that means something.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean? I didn't mind playing against the Fab Five. They have their stars. Michigan State has their stars. Two good programs. But Michigan, in my mind, got rolling because of football, and then we took over because of basketball.
I think that's a fair statement.
And I apologize. I'm just sweating. It's just so it's kind of warm in here.
No,
so
you're good.
I might need your towel.
No, you're good. You're good. We got to go to moving on from the Michigan State to Michigan thing to your coaching career, because we talked about you playing. Now, coaching career-wise, what made you decide to go become a coach after averaging 25?
I remember back to this day, I was in between seasons, and I was doing substitute teaching at Gibraltar Carson High School. This is a true story.
Okay.
And
so this is a good story.
Yeah, I played half the season.
Yeah.
And I was a permanent sub, and then I was trying to figure out if I was going to keep playing or not. And then I know I was in the principal office with Mike Laginus. He was a high school coach at Aquinas at the time.
Okay.
And the boys' basketball job came open at Carlson High School. And I was like, you know what? I should probably be a head coach. And so he said, hey, go interview. So I went and interviewed for the boys' job. And it's not I didn't get it, but I didn't get it. So they kept it open. They were like, well, we're going to see who else after the interviews were happening. But then the women's job opened up. And they said, well, you don't have to interview for the women's job. You can be the women's coach right away. I never coached women's in my life. And then I went, me and Lad were talking. He's a principal. He's like, hey, Monty, you know what? You're too good for high school.
Yeah.
You'll be a college coach. And sure enough, within that week, I reached out to my contacts, talked to Izzo, talked to some other. It was Tom Crean, Brian Gregory. They're all assistant coaches at Michigan State at the time. So it was 4 jobs open. Central Michigan, Jay Smith had just got the job.
Right.
Bowling Green, Dan Dockich, he has a podcast.
Okay.
He had the job at the time. Oakland with Greg Campy.
Okay.
And there was one more. But my first interview was Jay Smith. And Jay Smith is funny because he was a Michigan guy.
Right.
He coached against me when I played, when he was on staff at Michigan. So that was kind of our connection, other than we were rivals.
Okay.
So, but the first conversation went with, at Bowling Green, Dan Dockich. He says, Monty, it's your job. If a guy named Jamal Meeks. Dan Dockich played at IU. Jamal Meeks was a guard at IU. So I kind of respected that.
Right.
And he said, I think he's going to take the job. And if he doesn't, I'll call you back. Just say 2 days later, I go to Central Michigan. I go up to Mount Pleasant. I interview with Jay Smith, another guy named Dean Lockwood. He's the top assistant at the time. And I remember, I said, I'm a basketball junkie. I live it, eat it, sleep it every day of the week. And, whatever they say, twice on Friday or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I told Jay right there on the spot, because he said, well, when can you start? And I said, I can start tomorrow if I get the job.
Right.
So I'm driving back from Mount Pleasant to Detroit. I get the phone call. That's when we had the flips. That generation not around.
Right.
Nextel flips. You didn't have to worry about that. And he called me. He said, it's your job. I was like, great. I got all excited. I said, when do I start? He said, in an interview, you said you would start tomorrow. So literally I drove home, packed up my car, drove back. That's 1996. And then I got into coaching. I was there for 4 years. Then I got the job at Michigan State. I was there for 10 years. Then I got the head job in Northern Illinois. I was there for 10 years. I was at Detroit Mercy for 3 months. Went back to Michigan State. Now I'm back at Detroit Mercy. So that's a basketball career within itself, over 25 years of coaching.
Right. So with the Central Michigan job, you were there with Chris Kaman.
Yes, I helped recruit Chris Kaman. Yep.
That's dope. So this is a full circle moment. Obviously, those who know, and obviously Mac Mansell, that's like my little brother. You recruited his dad.
I did. Crazy thing. Because at the first day on campus at UD Mercy, and Matt came up, introduced himself, and
Yeah.
I already kind of looked at the roster. And his dad, Mike Mansell, was a big deal at Country Day.
Yeah.
He played with David Weber. They won state championships. Big, it was a big deal because I
Yeah.
worked hard to get Mike Mansell to Central Michigan, and just he was freshman of the year,
Yeah.
player of the year, NCAA tournament.
I'm glad you're saying all this because Mr. Mansell don't like to talk about all this.
No, he's a big time player.
Yeah.
He is a big time player. It's funny when you remember moments that probably at Country Day it was more of a system. Mike knew where he was getting his stuff. We were running more motion offense, and Mike was a perimeter player, and he was just like, "Hey, coach, just put me on the block. I know I can score down there. I'm going to go to work, and I go from there." And he went to work. Yes, he did. And he was freshman of the year. Then he got hurt, but he had an unbelievable career. His son, if he just takes after his dad on that work ethic, which he does, he can be a hell of a player. And he has a young player. He has a young son now that's at
Wasatch.
Wasatch. Yeah, because he was at Sunrise. So they have good genes. Mike was all business, no play, and unbelievable player.
Yeah, Manu next up, but that's definitely cool because that was something I wanted to make sure I touched base on, how like full circle life is. You went from recruiting a guy early in your career, now you're the head coach of his son, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then you mentioned Chris Kaman. Quick story about Chris Kaman. This is true. He went to Tri-Unity Christian, probably about 300 students.
Okay.
And I watched him in the fall, and I went back. I reported to Jay. I said, no way he could play at the MAC. And then Jay's like, I'm a young coach at the time, and played high-level basketball, Big Ten.
Yeah.
So I really didn't know the MAC level like that. And then I went back in January, watched him again. I'm like, oh, my God. He's amazing.
And he was the number one pick in the draft, wasn't he?
He was top 5.
And
he could score with his left to right hand.
Yeah.
And I just remember Jay saying, don't say anything to Michigan State. And recruiting Chris Kaman. Chris Kaman's list was Michigan or Michigan State, and then Central Michigan, because it wasn't like AAU back then. He was playing at the like a AYBT tournaments. So no one even watching those tournaments.
Yeah.
And I remember going on a home visit to Chris Kaman's house, and we knew Michigan State couldn't take him because they already took Zach Randolph. And Michigan already took a couple other bigs. So I'm like, they don't have any scholarships for bigs. We recruited the hell out of him, but then he kind of fell into our lap, and next thing you know, he's a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that goes back to what we were talking about like a week ago when you were saying with schools and recruiting class, like a school could want a kid, but like based on the recruiting class, it's tough. Because you got this guy coming in. Because, like, you think about Michigan State, if you say you could have Chris Kaman and Zach Randolph at the same time in today's day, you're thinking, like, that's a national championship.
No doubt about it. And then at the bigger schools, and like I said, I was there for 15-plus years, you get your recruiting done on the front end.
Right.
So Zach Randolph was already signed.
Right.
Chris Kaman, we got him late. And now it's even tougher battle for the younger high school kids because now you have the portal.
Right.
You could go take someone who's already seasoned, let's just say Indiana.
Right.
They got Abayo, or however you say his name, from Arizona. He was already a double-double machine. Now he's going there for his 4th/5th year for whatever he's getting paid in the NIL package, and he's already seasoned. But back in the day, you're going to work and develop kids and, get them ready.
Right.
That's why I kind of like our stage now at Detroit Mercy. When you're more in the mid-major, it is about development, and it's about relationships, and then hopefully those relationships can keep those student athletes with you, and then you can be successful.
Yeah, so let's get into the Titans. Like, what's your expectations for the Titans as far as, like, what you see in them?
Well, I see the future bright. It was first day of school today. And I see we have a lot of...
Welcome back, boys.
Yeah, we got a lot of work ahead of us.
Right.
But I definitely like what I've seen this summer, where guys are living in the gym. They're getting serious about strength and conditioning. They took care of their business academically. Your first couple of years is always, especially your first year, you have to built your foundation,
Right.
and then built your culture. And I think our culture is heading into the right direction. We have plenty things to motivate you.
Right.
Because the thing came out today on Twitter on the men's whatever basketball, whatever prediction, and they have us at the bottom.
Right.
And any place I've ever been, we never finished last.
Right.
So we're already looking up. So we should already have that edge.
Right.
And just on last season alone, to prove a lot of the doubters, the haters, the non-believers,
Right.
that we're gonna get this thing turned around, because we do have culture and we do have history.
Right.
You know, we've made the tournament. If you look up in our rafters, we have former players that played in the lead. And we've had success in the NCAA tournament and in the Horizon. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm just ready to get 20 weeks under my belt, where it's just not 4 weeks, and I can work with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys do this year. I love being inside the Callahan Hall. Something special in the air when you're in a gym in there. I mean, I've seen records broken in there. I mean, in high school, I watched Yante, my best friend, break records in there. So
That's why he's a Georgia product.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. That's why I love Georgia. And also, shout out to Kenny Gaines, my partner in my business. He's a Georgia Bulldog too. So
I like Georgia for football. That's my because they can give Alabama a game.
Yeah, I mean,
other than that, maybe they're good in gymnastics. I kind of followed that a little bit during the Olympics, but I guess I've only been once, but it seemed like a pretty good school.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful place. It's a great place. Nothing like Athens. DGD, damn good dog. That's what.
And I know my son played with them on the new whatever NCAA.
Yeah, no, I play with the Crimson Tide.
And he says between the hedges. I understand what the hedges are now, but it should be a fun season football-wise.
So we always gotta talk about NBA players. Who's the best player in the league to you right now?
Whoa, we didn't jump to. We really did a 180, didn't we?
Right, yeah. I don't make the rules. I told you about the show.
No doubt about it.
Right.
If we just go on Olympic play this summer, it's going to be an exciting NBA season, especially with Boston being loaded, and I bet you Tatum has he has an edge about him that not getting many minutes in that Olympic play. And Steph Curry, I mean, he seemed pretty amazing in the semis and the finals, but it seemed like it was still LeBron James' team, and KD's a living bucket. So, who's the best? Jokic, for some reason, was the MVP, but the MVP doesn't mean you're the best.
Right.
I always try to give it to who won the NBA championship last.
Right.
And Brown was pretty impressive in the finals.
That's why you my guy right there.
I don't know who you like, but I'm going to give it to the champs until they're knocked off.
Here, my thing is, P looked up when you said something about Tatum, because I'm known for being on the show saying, as good as Jason Tatum is, I think Jaylen Brown is just as good. And I love Jaylen Brown a lot. I hate that people sleep on Jaylen Brown. And so when you spoke on Jaylen Brown, that just was yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is it I'm seeing here, we got some Nike shoes, and Jaylen Brown is Adidas. Maybe it's the market on that, but it was a reason why he was NBA Finals MVP. But Tatum both guys have done it in their career. I think Dallas gonna have an edge with Irving and Luka. So it's gonna be an exciting season. Who's the best? I'm gonna let you and everyone else debate that. I just like good basketball.
Who's your favorite young dog coming up right now?
Oh, young player. I follow more college than NBA.
Okay.
I can't even tell you in this year's draft because the names aren't as marquee as they were in previous year's drafts. But if the one and Memphis, because if he can keep on that straight line, pretty explosive player.
Okay.
Who can make some things happen. I'm in Detroit now. If we put some things around Cunningham, he can be very successful.
Right.
It's a lot of good players out there. So it's I look at the league as a whole, I'm more old school, as in when Magic, Bird, Jordan era.
Yeah.
So if we get into that debate, the young guy at Minnesota, he probably wish he didn't say that those other guys didn't have the skills that they have. Um, it's more skillful players now. That's the debate that they can have. But I like what Magic Johnson said to him on Twitter. He talks to guys that won championships.
I feel that. I feel that.
But Edwards is a very talented player.
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna knock your. He is.
Yeah,
he is one Bulldog that I can name that went to that school.
Yeah.
Other than maybe what, Dominic Wilkins.
Okay.
So
Contavious Caldwell Pope.
good player.
Oh man, I can't do this with Spartans. I can't do this with Spartans, man. So that's actually, I was actually thinking about asking you that. Who's like the best player you've ever coached? You said, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just like skill wise that everybody necessarily knows. Just like the best player you like. This was the guy.
Well, like I said, when I was at Michigan State from 01 to 11, a lot of unbelievable players came through there. You mentioned Draymond Green and Kalen Lucas and Paul Davis, Drew Neitzel, Tolbert. But one of my favorites, and that I thought he was so multitask, he could play 4 different positions, was Allen Anderson. Allen was came out of De La Salle, that's in Minnesota, and he played in the NBA. Didn't get drafted, but he was in that league for about 8+ years. He was like a 6'5", 6'6" kid that reminded me a lot of Steve Smith. He could just do so many different things. And I always go back to if Allen Anderson didn't get hurt in that double overtime game against Kentucky to go to the Final Four. It was the Elite Eight game to go to the Final Four. We're down at Texas. I thought our team was good enough to win the championship that year because we had beat Duke in the Sweet 16, and then we beat Kentucky, who was the number 1 overall seed, and then we ran into Carolina in the Final Four, which is in St. Louis. So one of my favorites is Allen Anderson, and but I have a lot of favorites. I can go with Maurice Ager. I can go with Shannon Brown. It was just fun being around so much talent, and multiple teams got us to the Final Four when I was there. So, we had a lot of different weapons, and there's a lot of good players. But I would say Allen Anderson was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, when I said I was bringing you on the show, one of the first people Pia said was like Shannon Brown. Shannon Brown is like a 2K legend.
Yeah, Shannon was only there. Some of those guys, Allen, they were 4 years. Draymond Green was there for 4 years. But Shannon Brown was only there 2 years. So when you blink, he was already gone.
Okay.
But, he did get us to a Final Four talented. So imagine we had Shannon Brown on that left wing and Maurice Ager on that right wing. And we had Drew Neitzel running the show. And we had Paul Davis. And we had a lot of good players.
Right.
A lot of good players that Michigan wished they would have got, but we out recruited them for.
Right.
But no, we had some good times at Michigan State during that era.
So, Coach Monty, in your free time, what do you like to do? Like, are you like a coach that likes to just fish, or are you just like constantly just watching basketball, or what is it?
Well, my free time, I do have a family.
Yeah, well,
I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Okay.
And it's no free time. So I'm either rebounding. This past weekend, I'm at soccer tournaments.
Right.
Not my game, but I gotta figure it out.
Right.
I have a daughter who's 1. If I'm not doing something with the sons, I got to spend time with her. I do have a wife. That's still a full-time job there
Right.
to keep everyone happy. But other than that, if I'm not doing something with the family, I try to exercise a little bit. But I'm into puzzles. I like to do puzzles where it's at least 1,000 to 2,000 pieces.
Oh,
so if you came to my basement, you can see my different puzzle work. But I love sports, all sports. If it's this weekend, I was watching a little bit of the BMW, the golf tournament.
Okay.
I'm excited about that next week to see. I do golf, but I'm not really a golfer.
Yeah, same.
I play only.
I go out for drinks.
Yeah, I don't drink. But if you only play twice a summer, it's hard to say you're a golfer.
Right.
I do have clubs. I got the gear. I can look like it, but you don't want me on your foursome.
Okay, I feel that. I feel that. Most definitely, yeah. So that was like a question that a lot of people ask me, like, what do you think he does in his free time? I'm like, I know he has a family. And they're like, other than that though, I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe he golfs. Everybody's into different things, but puzzles are interesting. So me and my girlfriend, we do puzzles from time to time.
Right.
But like I can't just sit there and do a puzzle.
Well, it gets me to think about some different things like that too. And then a good puzzle, if you put, I don't know, 10 to 20 pieces on one night or one setting for a couple hours, it gives you a little quiet time. I can think about some other things.
Is that something you've always done?
You know, I think when I was playing in Europe, you had so much free time.
Yeah.
And it's only so many castles and so much sightseeing you can do.
Yeah.
So you have to find something to take up some time.
Right.
I like board games in general. Any kind of board games. And the guys know you come to my house. I got ping pong, pool tables, food.
Oh, you got games like
that? I
that?
got all kind of games, and I got the other board games too. But I've always liked board games. I like cards. I like dominoes.
You know how to play darts?
Oh yeah, we got dartboard too. So
yeah, I'm nice at darts.
Any of those things, if it's competitive, I don't care if we're throwing bags or cornhole or whatever you want to say. And then the guy says, yes, I play horseshoes. Used to have a horseshoe pit.
Okay.
But all those kind of things, I like those kind of games.
So you're really old school kind of guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
You gotta love it.
Yeah,
we need more guys like you.
If guys come around and you have a deck of cards, a lot of things can happen.
I think that's why it's so good that we got you on the show to bring, like, to be able to show the people around that watches and things like that what Detroit Mercy's getting as a individual, you know? Because a lot of people look at UDM and they're like, well, who's going to lead those guys that's down there on 6 Mile? And I think that's like the perfect example of somebody to look up to and be like, that's our coach. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
although Coach Davis was great as well too.
Yeah, I think families first, but other than that, I always tell the guys, and my kids and my wife knows that the extended family is our team and our staff. So that's important to me, and that's where we're going to be successful because we're going to do it all together.
Right. So what's your like slogan for this year for the team or something? Or you guys haven't came up with it?
I haven't came up with it. You know, I was watching that. I was watching that Receivers show on Netflix, and I saw in San Francisco's locker room, they had like a little slogan when it was, it's not going to be easy, but hard work is going to pay off or whatever. They had some kind of slogan. I'm going to probably tweak some of that. Some of my old slogans was always, remember the end in mind, because all the work you put in and then the end of the season is what really matters. Is that Horizon League tournament,
right?
And then getting to the NCAA tournament. So we're gonna have some catchy phrase, and the players can help me with it. But right now we're in a 30-day grind, as in I always tell the guys it's gonna be the gauntlet. We got to go through the gauntlet, which is the preseason, to get to September 26th when season starts. And then it's that first game before you blink. It's November 4th.
Who's your first game against?
Well, you know what? We're going to have a scrimmage. We're scrimmage Central Michigan, and then we're going to do an exhibition game where fans can come out. I don't know the date right. It's right at the end of October.
Okay.
But then the first game is definitely November 4th at UDM.
Okay, so it was intentional to get that scrimmage with Central, right?
No, with the rules now, I always try to look for someone local.
Okay.
Reached out to Western because a lot of people know Dwayne Stevens is my best friend.
Oh, really?
And he's the head coach at Western.
That's awesome.
He was the best man in my wedding. I was the same in his. So we couldn't get a game this year. They already had their scrimmage lined up, so Central Michigan want to do something, so that's always good too.
Yeah, that's actually cool. I didn't know that was your best friend. I've had a couple guys from Western that got a lot of love for it that went through there, like Trey Maddox, B Artist. Actually, Brandon's up there right now.
I mean, I want nothing but success until we don't have them on this year's schedule.
Right.
Next year, we're going to put them on the schedule. And we always said that hopefully we get the opportunity to coach against each other, and then we can see.
So you guys haven't had the opportunity yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
We had coached 6 years at Michigan State together. We had played 3 years together We played 1 year in Europe together, which was we're over in Sweden. So when I left, he stayed an extra 8 years. And then when I came back for 2 years, then he took off. And then he took the job at Western Michigan. So it's going to be on the schedule.
Yeah.
The Titans versus the Broncos. That's going to be fun.
I love that. I love that. We need to see that. I mean, obviously, I'm a cheer for the Titans. I'm not really a Bronco fan much. I always tell everybody I don't have like a set team because I have friends and people I'm really close with that went to all schools. So like for me, it's fair for me to say like I cheer for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good in-state thing. This year we play Eastern Michigan. We're going to keep that rivalry going. We have Wayne State in exhibition. We have a Toledo, which is, drivable, but it's not in-state. But within the next couple of years, we're ahead of Spartans. Michigan reached out to us late. So I like to play in-state schools.
Right.
Everyone knows that Oakland is our rival.
So, yeah, we got. I don't know if you know, I had a Titan and a Grizzly on here last podcast, and they told me the Grizzlies are going undefeated. And we're not gonna speak on that, but I just want to let you know, yeah, I got Mac and the boys coming soon, so they'll speak for the Titans. You don't gotta do too much.
No, I mean I think give Oakland credit. Coach Campy's done an unbelievable job.
Yeah.
They right now they're up in the series.
Yeah,
and I, trust me, I follow everything in state very closely. Myself and Campy played each other when I was at Northern Illinois.
Okay.
And I think I have a pretty good record against them. We won twice, but
right.
This is a whole new different thing. So
did you coach Trendon Hankerson?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Trendon Hankerson actually is my cousin.
I know that I was gonna bring that up too because Cam and Trendon are my boys. We're close.
So I'm looking forward to that Titan and that Grizzly rivalry.
Yeah.
Right up 75. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely circled in the calendar twice.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. So do y'all play at their house first or they come to y'all?
They come to us first and then we go there.
All right.
And in both games when we play each other, it's like it's only one game that week.
Yeah.
It's one game. A lot of times in the Horizon League you play Thursday, Saturday. Mm-hmm. We play them. We have an open week to get ready both times.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. I'm excited to see that because you guys are both like reloading as like teams.
Yep.
Completely different teams from last year. So that'll be very interesting. Is it any like I know you say you watch a lot of college basketball. Who would you say is like that one player in college basketball this year that you're like, if he figures it out, is that he could take his team all the way?
Well, I know last year it was Zach Edey, so I'm glad to get out of the Big Ten. I'm glad he's graduated and moved on.
Right.
But I don't know if it's just one player. Let's see. If I had to pick a Big Ten player right now, I think especially the Purdue fans is going to see what Brandon Smith, the little point guard, can do without the big fella. I think when you go to the SEC, I think Mark Sears, the Alabama team, that guard is pretty talented. So I think, Kansas, everyone's always intrigued in Kansas. I'm not a big Hunter Dickerson fan, but for some reason he's always getting a double-double.
Is he still in college?
He's still in college. So
like respectfully, Hunter, leave. Because like shit, I thought he left like 2 years ago.
No, he's still around. And then I just think in college basketball now, which is so much different before, because when you went to a school, you kind of stayed there, and now you got the transfer thing, and you got to figure all that different stuff out. But it's going to be interesting, when you look at right now who's, like UConn graduated so much. Yeah. But, they're not going to miss a beat.
Right.
They're going to reload. And I'm excited about just the different, watching it, just the conference play. You have the Pac-10 now in the Big Ten, and, UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington. What is that going to look like? Yeah. I'm excited to see what it looks like in football. Then all of a sudden, then it translates to basketball. I just want to see how it works when UCLA or just say Washington goes to the East Coast and plays Maryland and Rutgers, and they have to go back home and play another 2 games. And, you know,
It's actually funny you said that. So shout out to Coach Sprinkle, Coach Slocum. I talked to Coach Slocum earlier today. Those are Washington coaches, and we were talking about that at dinner earlier this year. I'm like, how do you guys like West Coast going all the way to the East Coast? That's gonna be crazy. They're like, yeah, but we're excited to see it.
Yeah, I think everyone's excited. You know, it's going to start with football, and football is a little different beast because they only have 1 game a week, and then they have a whole nother week to get ready.
Yeah,
Just being in that lead, it seems like the major conferences are playing on every day during the week.
right.
You know, Big Ten can play from a Monday to Sunday. So just the turnaround and the balance and then the travel, that's going to be interesting. I think it's going to lead to an unbelievable NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
No doubt about it. But I'm excited to see, like I keep saying, the football version. I'm a college football junkie. So
Okay.
seeing how this 12-team tournament
yeah,
is going to work and seeing what SEC team gets
yeah.
left out. I mean, it just, you know, and if you followed it, it just started this past weekend with Florida State losing over in London to Georgia Tech. You know, they probably can't have another bump in the road or they're not going to make the college playoffs. Just because I think the ACC conference isn't as strong as the SEC, Big Ten, and some of these other conferences. So we'll see what it, you know, we'll see how it all figures out.
It's funny. I'm that kind of guy that tells people every year, like, I'm gonna start watching football this year, and I never do it. So this is the year I'm gonna start watching football. This is the year, but like from the whole sculpture, just all the leagues and stuff like that, I feel like it's kind of cool because with the transfer portal and things like that, it forces guys to have to watch like schools like UDM, you know. Because it's like, hey, if you're not watching them earlier in the year, that team may be like FAU and sneak up on you, and now they're killing you every game, you know?
Well, that's the excitement of college basketball, trending back to college basketball, that, you know, at the early part of the season, in the majors, you know, we don't get much recognition because it's mostly the big boys on TV. But it's good basketball at all different levels. And when the tournament starts, that's why you have so many different upsets. But now with it seemed like cable TV and all these ESPNs 1, 2, 3, and then you have Primes coming out with their thing, and then last year NBC had their Peacock network.
Right.
That I didn't tune in for $12, and you know, we played on it. So it's just so many different networks. It's access to college. You still have the Big Ten network, SEC, Pac-12. Oh, well, Pac-12's gone, but I mean the Big 12. But it just makes it exciting that you're always going to be on TV. It's always a game on. During the year, you ask me, Nate, what else do I do? I'm pretty much college basketball.
Right.
And on weekends, I'll do a little college football.
Okay.
And now Sundays with Detroit Lions, you know, they're exciting to watch now.
The biggest fan of the Lions is right there.
Yeah, that's a big ticket now. Them being, you know, for a lot of years we had to endure pain, and now we're given pain. It's kind of enjoyment.
Are you gonna go to some Lion games or?
I'm hoping. I know the season tickets aren't easy to get, and one of my relatives actually works for them on my wife's side, and they said exhibition games tickets were $200 per ticket. That really didn't excite me. I kind of, you know, I want to see them against my Steelers, but I think, you know, when I take my family, that's 4.
Yeah.
And we can all do the math. That's before parking.
You got to go on
snacks,
game time.
Jerseys. I better find something now.
Yeah, you can look on game time, and then I mean, don't you got like a city pass? Would you being a coach?
Well, I'm gonna reach out to like we did with the Tigers.
Yeah.
It's a lot of UADM alums in the city.
Yeah,
and hopefully someone wants to donate, a couple tickets so I can go watch them.
Yeah,
but I'll make sure I make it down for a game.
That sounds good. So actually, you got some pretty big time decent transfers coming in yourself. With Legend Jeter, he was a known player throughout Michigan. Lando, so what does it mean for you to be bringing so many city guys back to the inner city to be able to showcase their talents and have an opportunity to make the tournament?
Right. When I got the job, first thing we had to focus on was we had to capture Michigan back. not just city players, but the state of Michigan. But when we got Orlando Lovejoy and, like you said, Legend Jeter to transfer from Eastern, and they are more of a city type kid, I think that helps, gives us a jump start. But then we get Nate Johnson from the Grand Rapids area. His team had just went to a state championship team and lost to Warren Lincoln.
Okay.
But then all of a sudden, a week or 2 weeks later, we get Miles Mitchell, who was at Warren Lincoln. They went to a prep school, to another prep school. Now we have him coming back home. He's a Detroit kid. And then the ball just got rolling.
Yeah.
Then we got Grant Gondrzak to come back. He was at Elon. He transferred back. He's a Ben Harbor kid, but to me, that's a Michigan kid. And then we got Jared Larry, another Grand Rapids kid. So our home base when Detroit Mercy was very successful was Michigan kids. And then we went outside of the state and found a couple 6'9", 6'10" kids where we have 2 Nigerian kids, Stephen Okor and Ryan Calabay. So you got to have some size.
Right.
You win with the guards, but you got to have some guys like you said, the Ben Wallace type guys that's going to do the dirty work.
Right.
And we found some of those guys too. So I think when we mash it all together, and then we had some returning players, there's going to be some excitement on 6 Mile and Liberty.
And TJ, he's from Catholic Central, right?
Yep. Had to get every year. It'd be great if we can get one from the Detroit Catholic League or the Catholic League in general.
Yeah, I hear
you know
that.
what? They've been well coached. They're educated, and they're willing to work hard, get it done, and they're great in the community, and they're going to be ambassadors at the university. So Catholic League guys do that. I'm not saying public school guys don't, but I know what you're getting with it.
If you're a Catholic League guy, that's the way to get to his heart.
No, if you're at De La Salle, Orchard Lake, Brother Rice, any of the Catholic League schools, and it's more out there, that we're going to recruit you hard.
Right. We love that. So one of the last things I got to ask you, Coach, anybody you want to give a shout out to, or anything you want the air to know just in general, like?
You know, it's always a chance to, I'm recruiting back with the alums.
Right.
And then if you want to see a good brand of basketball, exciting, our team's going to bring excitement. We're going to play with great energy. We're going to play with great effort, and we're going to do it together. Give Detroit Mercy a chance. Like you said, it's a great venue. Callahan Hall is historic. It's not a bad seat in the house. Once we get that thing rocking and we get the community back involved, it's going to be some excitement.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I appreciate you for coming on the show. This is one of the all-time best shows we've ever put together, just because you're the first coach on here, and I did a lot less swearing than what I ever do. So shout out to you, Coach Monty. You're making me a better man as is. But I think that's just about a wrap for the show. Shout out to P, Goat Media. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Prosperous Chris, Power Play, all my guys, Kenny Gaines, the Academy, all those people. And most importantly, shout out to University of Detroit Mercy. I like to say I'm the all-time assist leader at Detroit Mercy for keeping Antoine there. So
that's a big get. That's a big key.
Yeah. So, I helped with that. So shout out to the all-time assist leader and me, myself. So that's it for the air. Yeah, of course. Thank you, Coach. And that's a wrap for the show.
All right, Nate.
Catch y'all later.